Hey there, www.andrewmartinmusic.com. This is another informal chat called They Both Lied. So here I'm dissecting a plain reading of the first story in the Torah from a modern Christian Gnostic perspective. And the serpent said they would become like gods. And I think we have a reference today to what, is a reasonable expectation of what a god is through Hollywood and the Marvel series. And so from that knowledge, understanding, we understand that gods have extraordinary abilities that are more than just what a natural person can do. It's more than just being an Olympic, gold winner. There's nothing. I'm not denigrating being a gold winner in the Olympics, but to be a god is to be something more than that. And I think that's a reasonable expectation. It's a reasonable boundary about what we mean by God. But I think what we don't mean are psychotic people who think their wealth and technology makes them God. That's called delusion. So they did not become like gods. In fact, I think they became less than what they were, because they were more like gods prior, because at least they had innocence and longevity. We presume they had some longevity in the Garden of Eden. So the serpent lied. And what about Mr. Happy? Did he lie too? Yes, he certainly did on a plain reading. And I'm not really interested in apologetic contortionism on this point. A plain reading from a God who's supposed to be intimately, caring and loving for us. He doesn't need to hide and be vague about what he said. I mean, he said clearly that they shall die if they eat, and they didn't die, and we're still alive. So they both lied. Now, if we take the serpent story and we fast forward to the New Testament, because one of the Gnostic narratives is that Jesus was the serpent. And in the New Testament, it goes, well, what I do supernaturally is nothing compared to what you'll do. It's a lie, isn't it? Show me a human being who's a Christian who can do open, demonstrable, supernatural things. They don't exist. Probably never did exist. So that narrative is also a lie. From what I can tell, anything to do with spirituality has to do with phenomenology. So it seems to be solely phenomenology. No matter what it is that's going on inside a human when it comes to spirituality, there does not seem to be any observable, scientific, repeatable public demonstration via empirical methods that would harmonize the idea that spirituality is more than phenomenological. In other words, there's no supernatural miracles. Nobody can do it. Surely after 2,000 years, someone could have demonstrated this, and it would have to be, again, something that would be akin to what we see with the superheroes. Anything short of that, I would argue, does not meet the definitional standard of what we should reasonably expect from a god. So the story is, on both counts, false. And what I'm saying as a Christian Gnostic is that that book was written by the ARCHONs. It's full of historical deception. The historicity of the patriarchs and the Torah is false from everything we know now. Even the historicity of the Jesus character himself, is false. With all the information we have now, there's not even one first-hand attestation for this character. So now, I do believe something happened in that era between the archons of this demiurgic construct and what I call the aeon of truth and wisdom that is of the pleroma. Whatever happened, it's not represented accurately in the Bible, neither the Torah or the New Testament. That's my stance as a modern Christian Gnostic. Now, I'm not saying that there's absolutely no truth that God in those books. One of the hallmarks of great works of fiction is that there's truth within great works of fiction. So you can find truth in there. And perhaps some of the things that the Aeon Christ said and did get in there. But it's not an accurate representation. For the primary reason that this universal Christ was not a Jew, and he wasn't endorsing the demiurgic God of the Torah. Even the Marcionite Church, a part of their official canon is that the scripture says that Jesus arrived from heaven in 29 AD, September 29 AD, as a fully formed adult, and was only on the earth for 3 years. So it's not like there's no precedence for an alternative view of who the Christ was. Now, I believe, who was the antagonist in this? I believe that the families of the JEWlio-Claudian line and the Flavian line, they're the antagonists here. But we haven't been told the truth about them either, and that certainly the most powerful members of those families were what we call Hyksos, descendants of the Hebrew pharaohs. So this is my modern Christian Gnostic take on it. I would also say that alternative theories have to account for the spectacular, project of putting those books together. And a son of a Roman centurion would never be able to gather the intel, the knowledge, the intellect to write those books. Neither the New Testament or the Torah, which was written during the Greek age. So we had high-level Greeks, Romans, and at the highest levels, their Jewish partners, the royal families, the first faction, the second faction, and the royal families are the second faction. The priestly lines are the first faction, and, all kinds of third faction, which are more esoteric, and politically and financially oriented. So they're the ones who had the ability to write these amazing works of fiction. Yes, these royal bloodlines, the ARCHON bloodlines. Now, I'm not going to get into this video who the ARCHONs are. That'll be in an upcoming video, but you're not going to find the truth about them in the Bible. Now, just a brief word here. So if in my view, we cannot trust the Bible, there's a second question: can we trust the Vedas? And between those two sets of writings, that covers most all the religion on this planet for the most part. So whether the Vedas are the same type of manipulation, I think we have sufficient reason to ask that question. I'm not going to make a judgment on that here, but could be. Anyway, from a modern Christian Gnostic perspective, they both lied. AndrewMarkMusic.com